In this lecture, we are going to see how can we make this Kill the Ghost game more interactive and also more interesting for the user. First thing that we are going to do for making it more interesting for the user is, every time these enemy sprites touch this player of ours, we would like to see the player changing into some other player. So how can we do that? The best way of doing this is to add some more frames to this sprite. So we can make use of this add new frame option for doing the same. Let's set this option and see what's gonna happen. So I'm going to come on this beautiful animation library of GameLab, and here again I can visit this fantasy group, and in this group I will be able to find some very good players which I can make use of and add to the new frames. So I'm adding this one first. Okay, in the same way I am going to add some more players to that sprite. Let's add this one. Okay, so now there are two new frames which are visible to us over here. Let's add some more frames. So in the fourth frame I would like to have this image, and in the fifth one let's add this one. Okay, so now we have 5 frames for this sprite named sword. Now when you will come on this coding panel and run this game, this is what you are going to see. So you will see the player changing like this, right? But we don't want to see this animation happening like this, which you're seeing right now on this playground. I would like the player to change into some other player only when the enemy sprite hit this player over here. So how can we do that? The first thing that we need to do is we need to stop this animation which is visible to us over here on this playground. So in order to pause this animation, we can make use of this sprite.pause block, which you can easily find in the sprite section of the toolbox. Let's select this block and put it right below this sword.scale. Now because we are defining it for the sword player, so that is the reason we need to change the name of the variable to sword. Now when you will run this game, you will no more see that animation happening over here on this playground. Now what is a block that we guys can make use of for accessing the other frames which are there in this sprite that we have defined over here, right? So for accessing the other frames, what we can do, we can come down over here. So we would like to see the other players only when this sword player collide with this sprite 1, okay, or when it will collide with this sprite 2. So in order to do that, we can make use of this sprite.nextFrame block. We just have to select it and put it over here like this. Now let's replace this sprite with sword. Okay, now and I am going to define the same code here also inside this if loop, which is checking the collision between sprite 2 and the sword player. Now when you run this game, this is what you are going to see. Okay, every time this enemy sprite will touch our player, the player is going to change to some other player like this, right? That's how you can make this game more interesting for the user, right? Now what is the other thing that we can do? See, right now this background you're seeing over here, it is stable, right? It is not moving. Let's define a moving background for this game. So for doing that, we need to come on Google and search for a relevant background image. So here I am going to search for uh, something like this, mountains and sun background. Okay, let's select this one. This is a very beautiful image. Okay, so in order to copy this image, we need to right click on this image. Automatically this cascading menu is going to appear, and from here we can hit this copy image option for copying this image. Okay, now we need to come on the start button and open this paint software. Now the image which you have copied from the Google Images, you have to paste it over here in this software by pressing Ctrl and V together. That's how the image is going to come on this paint software. Okay, now what you have to do, you need to increase the width of this window, right, in this way. Okay, and again press Ctrl and V together. So another instance of that copied image is going to get created over here on this paint software. Now just bring it and drop it over here. So in this way you guys can create a background with a large width. Now in order to add this image to your game, what you have to do, you need to select this entire image first. How can you do that? You need to press Ctrl and A key together. Automatically the whole image is going to get selected. Now you can copy this image by pressing Ctrl and C together. So now the image has got copied. So here in this animation workspace, we need to hit this new animation tab. Now after that, we can make use of this draw your own option. Let's paste the image which we just copied from the paint software. So for pasting it over here, we just have to press Ctrl and V together. Automatically a beautiful dialog box is going to appear. Okay, now from here we need to hit this next button. Okay, so as you can see, the background is visible to us now in this animation workspace. Let's rename this sprite to back. Now we are going to go on this coding panel, and here we need to make some slight changes right on the top in this part which we have defined for accessing the background sprite over here on this playground. So I'm going to convert it into block based coding first, and from this drop down over here I will select back. Now when you will run this game, so you will be able to see this background which we just added in the animation workspace. Okay, let's partition thing is coming and that background is not properly visible to us. How can we enhance the appearance of this background? We can make use of this sprite.scale option. Let's scale down the size of the background. Okay, so I'm scaling down this background to 0.4. So now the background is looking good. Alright. The second thing that we need to do is we need to change the x value of these coordinates of this background. Why? Because I don't want to see this partition getting reflected on this background initially when the user will start the game. So we can change this to 500 and see what is the output we are going to get. Okay, so we are able to see the left side of the background now, okay, on this playground. So it is perfectly fine. Now in order to make it moving, in order to make it move along the x-axis on this playground, what we can do, we can make use of this sprite.velocityX component and impart some velocity to this background that we have defined for this game over here. Let's do that. Let's select this velocity x component and put it right below this bg.scale part, And here I need to replace this sprite with the name of the variable in which I have saved the background, which is bg. Now I'm going to assign a velocity to this background along x-axis. If I'm moving my cursor in the left side, what is happening? The value of x is changing constantly and it is decreasing. Right. So I need to assign a negative value to this velocity x component in order to make this background move in the left side. Let's define -3 for this velocity x component. Now when you will run this game, this is what you're going to see as an output. So we are able to see this background moving towards the left side, right? So that's how you can create a moving background for your game in the game lab. Now let's define the code for keeping a check on the score part also. So every time this sword player will collide with any of the two enemy sprites, I would like the score to get incremented by 1. So for doing that, we need to first define a variable, a counter variable with which we can keep a check on the score. So this is the variable which I have defined over here. Where is the keyword with which we can declare a variable, and then we can initialize it like this with some value using this assignment operator. Okay, so now I'm going to make use of this x variable for calculating the score of this sword player. We need to come down, and inside this if loop we can define this line of code x is equal to x plus 1. I would like the same thing to happen when this sprite 2 will touch this sword player. That's the reason I'm copying this code and pasting it inside this if loop. Right, now let's make use of this watcher section to find out the value of x. So right now it is undefined. As soon as you'll run this game, the value of x will become 0. And now it is 2. Right. Now every time the enemy sprites will hit this player, so the value of x will increment by 1. Right. So that's how you can keep a check on this score part with the help of a counter variable. Now how can we get this score reflected on this beautiful moving background? That's what we are going to define the code for now. So we need to come down over here. Right in the bottom we can define this text block. Okay, and let's replace this text with your score is. Okay, and I would like to see this getting reflected somewhere down here, somewhere in the middle. So let's replace the coordinates with 88, and the y value I am replacing it with 160. Now when you'll run this game, this is what you're going to see. Your score is, it is visible to us over here. The size of this text is very less. We need to scale up the size of the text. So for doing that, we can make use of this text size property. Okay, and here I need to change this font size to 20. Now when you'll run this game, so you'll be able to see a bigger font getting reflected over here on this playground. In order to change the font color of this text, we can make use of this fill color property. I would like to see it in the white color, so that's the reason I have defined white over here. Now when you'll run this game, so the text will be visible to you guys in white color on this beautiful moving background like this. Okay, now along with this text, I would like to see the score also. So for doing that, we can make use of the concatenation operator, and after this we can write down the name of the variable we have declared for keeping a check on the score. Now when you'll run this game, this is what you'll get to see. So the score is now equal to 2. If let's press Z key, X, so as you can see the score is incrementing every time the enemy sprite is hitting our player. So that's how you can get your score reflected on this beautiful playground. Let's place an equal to sign over here. Okay, now let's talk about how can we define a game over screen for our game. So what we can do, we can make use of this if loop, which is there, which you can easily find in the control section of the toolbox right in the bottom. We need to put it over here. I would like the game to get over when the score will become greater than 10. So I can define a condition over here for keeping a check over that thing. So when the value of x will become greater than 20 or greater than equal to 20, so what should happen? I would like to see a white background. So for that we can make use of this background block, which is available in the drawing section of the toolbox. So on this white background, I would like to see this text getting reflected. You won game over. Okay, change this 20 to 5. Okay, afterwards I'll make it 20. So at present the score is 0. Now it is equal to 2. It is 3 now. It is 4 at present. Okay, so white background I'm able to see over here, but the score is not visible to us. Why that score is not visible to us? It's because it is in white color. So what we can do, we can change this white to black so that this text can be visible to us. Let's run this game and see what is going to happen. So I think this time I will be able to see the score on this black background like this. Okay, now I don't want to see this getting reflected over here. Instead of that, I would like to see it getting reflected at the same position where this text was getting reflected. Okay, so for doing that, I can change the coordinates of this text. So I'm changing it to 70, and this one I am changing it to 160. Now let's reset this game and run it one more time and see what is the output we are going to get when the game will get over. Okay, so this is where now the text is getting reflected. Okay, now if you don't want to see this black background, instead of that, if you want this text to get reflected in place of this text, means when the game will get over, so if you want this text to replace this text, what we can do, we can put this inside this if loop. Let me show it to you. How can you do that? So I am eliminating this background for now. Let's go cut this line of code from here and I'm pasting it inside this if loop. If the value of x is smaller than equal to 5, till the time the value of x is smaller than equal to 5, this text is going to get reflected. Else, so we can make use of if else loop. Else, what should get reflected? This text should get reflected in case this condition is not true for any value of x. Now when you'll run this game, let's check out what is going to happen. So at present the value of x is 2, as you can see. Now when you'll hit Z button, let's set this x button. So the value of x is incrementing. Now it is equal to 4. Now it has become 5. Okay, so as you can see, this text over here is getting reflected now on this screen, and this is now no more visible to us over here on this playground. So that's also one of the ways you can make use of for defining this game over part. So that's how you guys can make this game named Kill the Ghost more interesting and more interactive for the user. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture a lot. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye bye.